Hey guys, BJTHEBRAVE here, back with another Warpforge deck guide for you. And I know a lot of you been really keen to see a little bit of Ghallaron the Pious. I've been tinkering around with a few different ideas, and there's some aggro decks flying around, there's some sort of combo decks. I based this on one of my kind of like original ideas for Galaron, and it's actually been working pretty good. To be honest, I'm really enjoying the deck. So basically, what we've got is this idea that what does Galaron's ability give us? Well, what it gives us is it gives us card draw, which is very powerful, right? Because it means that we can always find our tools. But the other thing is obviously the vulnerable. So to me, the thing about the vulnerable is obviously it makes things easier to remove, and so I wanted to kind of like try and really max out on that idea of kind of like making having like lots of removal essentially. So what this deck's doing is kind of like removing our opponent's stuff, so it is a form of control, but obviously at the same time drawing. So we've got a combo in here with the Murderous Desires and Legacy of Vengeance, nothing new there, but we can draw into it quite easily. We've also got the Vex Machinator as a win con. This card's pretty good in this deck because it says deal 5 damage to an enemy. That's often deal 6 or 7, depending on how much vulnerability we've got down. And of course, if it's a vehicle, like Chaos, for example, struggle with Long Strike. This card's brilliant because it just kills Long Strike. So we don't use it in every game, but obviously when we need it, it's there. It's just a one-off. So similar, if we look through the deck, then we have the Malicious Volleys. Now, I actually think this is one of the better cards from the new expansion. Between this and the Havoc, probably my favourite new cards. For only 2 energy, we can deal 2 damage to enemy, which can be used as reach. Obviously, we can hit our enemy Warlord, but we can just stun a troop and buy as a turn, or we can actually use it to combo with the Warlord talent, with the Litanies of Despair, so that we can actually, that ends up being 3 damage. It can help us remove things. Really good, cheap, effective bit of ping. It's something Chaos very much needed. Similar thing with Traitors Hate, but obviously that's AoE if we need to deal with a go wide board. Now we have got Ghallaron's Champion, so we are using this. Fantastic card. If it lives, it's terrifying because the Bitter Blows is just, you know, it's a 3 energy, no mucking about. So enough said, right? It's pretty damn good, and pretty well statted anyway on curve. We run a single host chaos. We don't really need 2 because, as I say, we do quite a lot of good drawing anyway from Ghallaron. But it's quite handy. Like sometimes I'll have it early, and in the Chaos Mirror we can sometimes play this the first turn. If one of us has gone for the discounted spells, then you can play this first turn, which is a really powerful opener. We've got Noise Marines as a kind of proactive play, and then what we're obviously looking for is those units that can respond to the board, but instead of that being 4 damage, it could be 5 if we need the vulnerable. I'm actually tempted to switch one of these out for just one of the 1 energy flankers, the spawns. That is definitely something that I'm gonna test, because we've also got things like double execution, so you only really need a ping really on something to then trigger the execution. So having the 1 energy spawns and along with the Malicious Volleys and things like that can be really good combos with execution, as well as obviously the Litany of Despair. Now we do run a single Despoilers. This card is, you know, it can. We don't have too much late game, so if we do get into slightly later game against a deck with slightly bigger units, for example Abaddon, then Adulterous Despoilers can be quite nice. But you know, between that and executions, we can deal with big things anyway. Also, really pretty handy against Tau drones. Like if we can get this off on turn 4, then it can really help us in the Tau match, as long as we don't fall too behind on tempo. And then we have got other things that obviously, again, Possessed has removal, right? The Warp Talon means that he can't attack us the turn we play it. The Zealot Legionary. I really like this card in this deck. Again, that deal 1 damage can often deal 2 damage because of the Warlord power, or potentially 3 damage if we've got Despoilers down. And again, bring us the Decay. Just making that vulnerable effect exponential, right? Just piling it up. And again, combining nicely with the previous card, the Zealot Legionary. And Helldrake strikes, again, 3 to 6 damage. It's usually more than that because of the vulnerable. And we already talked about the Vex. So basically everything in the deck pretty much can do damage. And I quite like it because you draw lots of tools and you always feel like you're going to be able to have an answer to your opponent's board. You know, if they go wide, you've got answers. You can deal with individual units and you've got execution for big units. So I quite like this deck. I've got to say. And yeah, let's jump into a few games and kind of like show you how this deck works. So I have pinned a few decks for us. So let's look at this one first, which was against Ghallaron Rose, who was running a Gazghkull deck. This is guy who came top 15, I think, last season. So we're gonna basically hold on to that curve. So notice we didn't attack first turn there. We're playing like a control deck to start with, so I'm not, especially against a 40 health guy, I'm not looking to kind of like hurt myself too badly there. So we're gonna obviously wait for the noise marine. We need to attack anyway when that happens. But I think we actually do take the melee damage just so that we can trigger the noise marine. Okay, so he goes ahead with Greatest War Boss, pulls another Grot out. We drop the Talon, and again we trigger the Noise Marine going up to 6 damage. And now we're already ahead on health, although he does go ahead and heal. We're just going to drop the Bringer Decay and actually attack. Of course we'll get stunned, but it doesn't matter. So, you know, it cost him 5 energy to remove that, so we'll kind of take that. Now this is a chance to play this and get the Host of Chaos and draw. We will attack, I think, with our Lord just to buff the Noise Marine. Unless he's got like Scorched Assault, he is going to have to attack here. Okay, well he goes with Crump to gets this turn, right? So actually quite nice actually for the nice target for Gretchen, or at least it would be. But I wonder whether he remembered that we'd put the Knight attack on. Not a bad tactic for Chaos against Orkz, because we're not too fussed about having range damage, and it can hurt his Squig Buggers, and it can even hurt things like this. So you see here, we use the Litany of Despair. Sometimes you've got to treat it more just like Manius Calgar's ability, right? You're playing it for the card draw. Obviously, we didn't need the Vulnerable so much there, because we could have just killed it with our Lord. But we're playing it more to get the draw, because we knew we were going to kill that unit anyway. So this is a go wide turn for him. So obviously, a lot of options here with the Traitor's Hate and the Spawner, but we just go with the Traitor's Hate. Take that damage for free because of the Knight attack. And we play this for tempo. And obviously we're sitting with some pretty good options in hand as well. So even if he plays a unit, okay, and he uses a second Wall Biker for removal. Tries to get a bit of heal as well. And then we just drop the Strike and the Vengeance. And that's GG. That was a good game against Gazghkull. Next up I want to show you one. Let's have a look at the Abaddon match. And we got a pretty good game against Calgar. So we keep that hand. The Warp Storm is on, so it means we can get the Horse of Chaos off first turn. Always a nice play. So obviously against Abaddon, he's a bigger body and he can heal. So we're going to manage it. And what we actually do here is we go proactive with this. Because it's against Chaos, we know that he's likely going to need to trade with melee attack. So playing that as a proactive card is not actually that bad. Whereas like against Eldar, we'd never do that, for example. But against Chaos, that's pretty good. We're forcing him to spend his energy to deal with it. And so we're going to continue in the same vein and play this out as a tempo play again. Again, we're just forcing him to be the one responding. Takes 3 damage there, so if we hit for 5, that'll be 8 damage plus the ping, so that'll be 9 damage that this guy's done to face, which is pretty incredible. Actually, it'd be 10 now because of the vulnerable from this guy. And we're just going to buff this guy. We could have obviously buffed this guy, but we decided to just put the damage on and make this a little bit awkward for his Warp Talon, who can obviously has only got 6 attack. Say, well, you might need to attack with both things. As it turns out, he plays the Spawnedom to get the extra damage. But I think I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, obviously this is getting lots of kills, so getting lots of Dark Packs on. We've got to be careful with combos like the Demonic Frenzy here, so we definitely want to make sure we deal with this as soon as possible. So we go with the Litanies of Despair, because we know we want to kill it anyway. Get the extra card draw. Use our own Spawnedom. I think we actually save the... probably just save the Malicious Volleys. We can get rid of it for kind of 2 damage from the Warlord. This is quite a nice setup turn. I quite like this, for example, where you can drop one of your big bodies and then use Malicious Volleys to just... Oh, what happened there? I don't really understand this replay feature, but we're going to quickly get back there. I think it like times out or something. So let's just quickly whiz on and get back there. So what I was saying is that this is quite a nice thing that you can do. This is where we got to. We can use Malicious Volleys to just buy us time and retake the tempo of the board. So we don't have to kill it, we just stun it. And he doesn't want to develop the board further because he'd be playing into vulnerable. He hasn't killed it, so now he's going to have to take more damage. More damage to face. And of course this guy's got 4 plus a shield, so the Veteran Havoc with the Litany of Despair can just take that out nice and easy. So that's exactly what we do. Really love this card in this deck. And he's got the second Venom Crawler. And he gets the Vanguard again. So we're going to Litany of Despair it again. We're going to use Spawnedom. I think the idea here is that we just hit with Traitor's Hate. Because of the vulnerable. That'll get rid of that, and then that means we can put 6 damage to face. With this guy, actually think we might have missed lethal actually, because we could have played the Legacy of Vengeance instead of that, and we would have actually lethaled up. But as it is, he's got nothing, and we win the game. Okay, quite a good game against Calgar coming up now. This shows off a few different elements of the deck. So we are going to keep the flanker, draw into the Talon. There's a couple of ways we could deal with this. Obviously, we can use the Litany of Despair, or we can use the Possessed Marine. But the Possessed Marine does mean that we end up with a board. Even though it can get taken out for free, it does mean that Calgar's got to divert his attack. So overall, I felt like that was a net benefit. Obviously, we don't draw the card though, so that's kind of like the downside. Okay, so we're just going to drop the bringer and trade here. Uses the Inspired Retribution to get rid of the bringer of decay. So one of the problems with this deck is that you can end up like with loads of stratagems. If they're removing efficiently, you can end up with no troops. So we found a spot there again on turn 6 where we can develop the Noise Marine and the Host. I quite like that turn, to be honest, on a low kind of tempo board. And he can trade with his 6-drop flyer, but it does leave him vulnerable to Traitor's Hate. So we're going to go Litany of Despair here. I think it's because we're thinking about dropping the Warp Talon. So we might as well just draw a card from the kill and then just drop the Talon. So again, that's using Litany of Despair there for card draw. We've got quite a big health disparity here, so we've got to be a little bit careful. We're going to play the Despoilers here, and again, we can. I quite like Despoilers in this kind of position where you can play it with a unit. It really does help this deck go into the late game because we don't have lots and lots of like late game cards, but Despoilers can really carry us. So we go with the heal there, but unfortunately he did have the kind of perfect answer in the Inceptor Sergeant there. Otherwise that could have been quite a bit of a problem for him. He pops the Humanity Shield, so we're going to take a turn off from doing damage to base. We could have actually decided to not use the execution there and just kind of like develop the possessed or something, but we did go ahead and finish it off. Now here is a great example, I think, of the vulnerable helping us outright, because this card is just terrible into the spoilers because these are all 2 drops instead 2 health instead of 3 health essentially, and that means that our Spawndom is going to do very well into this board. We might as well use the Litanies of Despair again, more as a card draw mechanic here rather than for the vulnerable. See what we draw. And we draw into Ghallaron's Champion. So always check to see what you draw first. Now Ghallaron's Champion is going to help with the hand because it's going to give us a Zealot at the end, and obviously if he doesn't kill it, then we'll get another card with 2 cards next turn. Looks like he's really trying to play for the beatdown here because he's got us down to 13 health. Okay. So we've got a beautiful turn here because we can use the Veteran Havoc to take out Sergeant Electus, and that now means that Bitter Blows will automatically kill Cassius because it's the only unit left. 3 energy, and then we can develop a Zealot, little ping, keep the board, think we're not going to attack with Ghallaron. And what does he do? Or has he got the burn? Hasn't, so he puts the second hard removal on that. What I love about that card, right, it's already done its damage. It's already 2 for 1, if not more, just from that. Whereas if that was, say, a Venom Crawler or something, we get quite punished for that hard removal. But with the Havoc, we're not. Okay, so using a lot of cards here to try and clear this board up. Of course, we could just drop the Vex if we wanted to here. But I think I'm a little bit nervous about something like the Land Raider or something coming down Calgar. So we go down a different route instead. Just want to keep drawing. We're getting down to like the last 5 or 6 cards in the deck here as well. It's got 8 at the minute. So yeah, we'll just keep developing our Zealot Legionaries. He uses his removal, which he probably would have rather used to face. Storm Raven. And he still can develop the board with the Honor Guard. That gives us something from the Legacy of Vengeance. We've actually got 2 of them. So that would be lethal there if we could clear the Vanguard. But we just get the 1. Use the Helldrake just in case. So there we go. Nice win there against Calgar. So we played the Calgar match. Nice Abaddon one. There's a couple of Abaddon ones here to show you. And an Invar one. So let's have a look at this Abaddon one here. People say that Abaddon's a hard match for Ghallaron as well. So let's see if we can learn anything from this one. Again, we can get this turn 1, draw 2 cards, and then we got another Abaddon's Chosen. Such a great opener against Chaos. Actually did go with the Litany of Despair there. Not sure if that's correct, but I think we just hadn't. It's probably more frustration of having nothing in hand. I'm not sure it is correct to attack against Abaddon in that sense. Okay, so we've got a machine gun down on the board, so we really want to get rid of this if we can. So we play out the Possessed. Finish it off. It was a slight mistake. We should have played Litany of Faith there, and we would have actually drawn a card. A bit of a misplay. And again, like, Malicious Volleys just gives us really good options, right? Because we can just, obviously, this is a card we don't want swinging, so we can just stun it. But we're at the point where we can just attack it now and finish it off. But we could have chose to not do that as well, like depending on what we thought we'd play next turn. So he's looking for something from the Dark Pack so that he doesn't just trade for even here, which he gets. That's quite nice. We're going to play the Bringer and take the card draw here. Again, we can do the same. Not needing the... Oh, actually, we do use the Vulnerable because it's got 5 health. And then the Havoc can take that out. And that means we can put a bit of pressure on him now here with the Vulnerable from the Bringer of Decay. So we do attack with Ghallaron. And it's like, well, if you don't have Traitor's Hate, you're going to have to hit this again for another 5 damage. She does. So it really quickly pulls his health down. Gets the venom crawler. So we're going to go malicious volleys. Opens up the execute, right, so that we can put the 6 damage on face and kind of start to become the beatdown. Dark Apostle gets the vulnerable, gets the Vanguard again. And a Vengeance up first before we remove that. Then spawned them. Just a bit more power on the Possessed. Just to help us finish this guy off. Obviously they go in. And he just calls it a day. So yeah, another example, the deck doing pretty good against Abaddon. I'm going to show you a game where it kind of went a bit wrong, and that was against Invar. And Equivalent's a good player, but there is definitely an observable error in this game where we kind of lose tempo. So in this matchup, we've really got to be thinking about the tempo of the match, because Tau, when played well, will take the board with their tempo, and if we can't match it and we fall behind, then we basically lose. So not a bad mulligan, to be honest. Although, did we need both of these? Somewhat questionable. So he does get his Serene Unifier off because of the discount from Warpstorm, giving him a reasonable turn 1. We don't have a great turn 1, but we actually do want to kind of go ahead and start beating Invar down, really, this match, I believe. So he plays the Sniper Drone, and he puts the, I think he puts the shield on that he just banked last turn. So quite a powerful turn 2 for him, really. Now, normally we would be obviously dropping Ghallaron's champion, but because of his turn, we're kind of already in thing of like reacting to that. And with the Hellfire Pit and the Vulnerable, we can actually deal with this. So we decided to go down that route instead of using Ghallaron's champion. So I think that decision's okay. That's not certainly not the mistake that I was referring to. He goes ahead and heals the shield drone, which is quite nice because it does play around Traitor's Hate quite nicely for him. Now here I think we play Ghallaron's champion, and I actually think this is a misplay. What we probably should have done is dropped the Warp Talon in response to his stealth instead. However, the turn where I really felt that it was a misplay was this next turn. So looking at this board now, we actually played the Bringer, and that gave us the damage obviously to kill this. But the problem is this obviously can now hit the Bringer back with long range. Whereas if we'd just played, just gonna pause it there. If we just played the Warp Talon instead, we would have had Litany of Fate for 1 energy, so we could have still killed the Stealth Drone. We would have drawn a card, and now he would have had only my Warlord to hit, and we would have then had a stealthed 6 attack Warp Talon that would have then killed this, and we'd have been 2 health up. So we would have taken the lead with that play. So that was a massive misplay, playing the Bringer of Decay, and I think I kind of played it down, and then as soon as I had, I'd gone, what am I doing? He's got long range. It's like just a mental blip, and yeah, as a result, we went on to just lose this game badly now, because obviously that was the key turn. Like, he's taken the tempo, and now all we're doing is just chasing, and he's playing mid-range bodies, and we're just trying to come back, but we can't really, and we end up with no health, and he wins. So a loss, but it's a loss that I think we can really learn something from there. Definite misplay. So last but not least, I'm going to show you this game. And obviously we were fresh off of that loss, so we were kind of thinking about lessons learned, and because this is chaos, we do keep the execute. It's a little bit crutch. You don't need to, but I kind of like to against especially when you against Abaddon, because you just don't know what Abaddon it is, and we end up with like some hell brute turns. I kind of just like to know I've got this, but that's a close call between whether it's right or wrong, to be honest. And as it happens, he's got the more machine gun version, so we're just going to drop the possessed. Obviously, Abs can kill it, but it does take Abaddon's attention for a turn, and he drops the champion. Now, obviously, the possessed champion is a very good answer to this guy. If this guy's plays on 3, you get this on 4. It's quite a nice answer to it. Leaves you with 2 health, and so if you get the health buff, which we do get, then that is a really lovely trade. And he had the hellfire combined with that, so that's a nice turn of removal for him. Again, malicious volleys, but combined with your lord, gives you a really nice way of removing these new Zealot legionaries. So yeah, we'll just get to the end of this one. I'll talk a little bit about the some card alternatives and what I'm going to do next with it. But we keep developing the board, pressing the tempo. Now, this is a really important game. I'm really glad I'm showing you this one, because you're going to see, like, there was an argument there that last turn that you don't play the Noise Marine, and I remember thinking about it, thinking if he's got Hellstrike, because he didn't develop himself, it's probably what he's got, then we just have no units, and we're reliant on drawing a unit, and we didn't. So now you can see, like, we had nothing. So we just had turn 7, we just passed straight back to him. We didn't play absolutely anything on 7 energy. Now that's a bit of a disaster, right? We were in command of the game, but we just didn't have any troops because we had this double execution. So that is one downside of this deck, is that can happen. I probably shouldn't have played the Noise Marine that previous turn, but we decide not to quit, and we keep going. We're just playing from behind a bit now. But I mean, the deck is designed in a way where it can kind of play from behind quite well. Against a lot of decks, it can anyway. So he's going to clear with the possessed, and probably looking for... Oh, okay. Spreading corruption. Interesting. Okay, so he does it that way instead to save his possessed marine. So he plays this more for tempo. Interesting. So this is another, Litany of Despair. We can just ping this down with the Zealot. Getting pretty close on the health, though. Here comes the Hell Brute. This is what we saved the executes for. Obviously, turned out in this match that it was probably not correct. But so now we put the Litany on Abaddon to try and maximize the damage that we're going to get from this guy. Then we're going to trade Vengeance, sorry. And then Helldrake. Now, obviously, if we didn't think we had lethal there, then we had a different line of play with the Traitor's Hate and the Execute on that. But we actually managed to find lethal and some pretty good range in this deck to kind of end the match. So there we go, guys. That is my Vulnerable Control. I definitely think that this card, the Chaos Spawn, is very, very good with Ghallaron. And I'm not sure how to squeeze him in, really. You could drop 1 Legacy of Vengeance. You could drop 1 Zest Marine and have and have one Chaos Spawn. That's something I definitely want to try. Some people don't like the despoilers, so obviously that would be another option for it. But I want to keep it in for now. I want to keep testing it. I want to keep testing the despoilers at this stage. There've been some games where it's kind of like really helped me win games, and then there's been other games where it's just a tempo loss, so I can't afford to play it. So I want to keep testing it. I think I'm happy with just one of. But yeah, that is the deck. Obviously, as you saw there, we want to be looking for our noise marines, our possessed marines, our early removal. Potentially we'd hold despoilers if we get that in our opening hand. Obviously Ghallaron's champion. And malicious volleys is pretty nice to keep one of in your opening hand as well. So yeah, that is the deck. The only other alternative card you could run is you could definitely drop the Vex Machinator for something like Draconum, for example, which will help you with your your combo with the Murderous Desires. So Draconum would definitely fit into this just fine. But I'm going to keep testing this guy for a little bit actually at the minute. And yeah, that's the deck. I hope you enjoy that. And if you did, please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. And I'll see you in the next one.